I made bold to say that Obi never sent Datti Baba Armed to meet with Julius Abure's led Exco of Labour Party. This is not far-fetched, though Datti Baba Armed may not have bad intention, but I want to say that Obi have to be very careful at this point, particularly his handlers, his legal team, have to be circumspect at this point, seeing what is happening, so that at the end of the day, they don't leave Obi frustrated before the 2027 presidential election. First of all, let me go and bring what Abure, the conversation, or rather what transpired at the level of the meeting between Abure and Datti Baba Armed. This one is coming from Daily Post. He's saying, Datti Baba Armed reveals conversation with P2B before meeting Abure's neck. You go further to say that Datti Baba Armed, former vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party LP, has revealed that he spoke with P2B before attending the Julius Abure-led LP National Executive Council NEC meeting. Speaking on Arise TV on Tuesday night, Baba Ahmed insisted that Obi had no objection to his attendance. He said, if His Excellency P2B and I had been sworn in, there would have been things that would have fallen on me to do. Not too long ago, his younger brother's property was smashed. He has been busy. He went to Daura for Buhari's burial. Also, one governor was on his case not to visit his state. I need to understand that P2B's cup is full and maybe he is shy to tell me to go and do these things. He knows everything I do. I carry him along. Obi is a very easy person. He leaves you to use your judgment and initiative. He was fully in the picture. So from what you just heard, it's very clear that Ahmed Baba may have done this without the consent of Obi, but he believes that Obi will buy into it, that Obi will not object it. But the point here is, Obi himself has to be very careful. Looking at even the Labour Party platform itself is already not too comfortable. This is not far-fetched. Julius Abure himself have made it clear in recent time that the ticket of Labour Party is not reserved for Obi in the 2027 election. That is no longer open for any individual. And do not forget that in the same Abure have a case in court, where the court have even asked him to stop parading himself as the chairman of Labour Party. The implication of this is simple. In Zamfara State in the past, we have seen a situation where APC will conduct primary. They will go into a general election. After the election, it turned out that the faction that produced the person that won the election at the general election, the court said that they are not the authentic executive of the party in the state. Talking about Zamfara. As such, the court sacked the governor and gave the ticket to PDP candidates. It happened in the past. So that is why we have to be careful. So they must resolve all legal issues. If we must run on the party platform, they must resolve all legal issues. Another thing has to do with, even Abure himself recently visiting Wiki, talking about the FCT minister. Of course, this is a man who everybody understands have made his position known, sequel to the 2027 presidential election. Though still a member of PDP, but Wiki have made it very clear to everybody that cares to listen that he's going to work for his principal. Who talking about Bola Ahmed Tinubu for the purpose of the 2027 presidential election. And now we are seeing a Wiki, or rather yes, a Wiki hosting Julius Abure in his residence. And we all know all the allegations, accusations that have trade, how PDP have been destroyed, who may have a hand in it, and all of that. And even Obi himself recently made it very clear that it is the ruling party, the governing party, the federal government that is instigating the trouble, the crisis in PDP and the Labour Party. So Obi should be very, very careful. When I mean careful, his legal team by now should be working around the clock to ensure that he gets it right. Because of course, he's a man of the moment that need to salvage the country the way it is. The country is in a present state of quagmire. And again, if you look to the coalition, that's why I said we should be very careful. The coalition is not still a fertile ground the way it is, because just as we know, the man Atiku Abubakar is, of course, making very concrete arrangement to emerge as the candidate of that party, of that coalition. He has made it very clear himself that in his government, that 70% attention will be given to youth and women. What does that tell you? It tells you that this man is interested in contesting. So anybody telling you that Atiku is not going to concede, Atiku is going to concede to be, I think that person should think twice. And even the former governor of Jigawa State, talking about Sule Lamido, even came up the other time to say that if Obi win the primary, he's going to give him support. So it's a clear indication that obviously Atiku is contesting. And again, I think if you even look at what came from Datti Ahmed Baba, that the coalition is for Atiku. And this is a northerner speaking, who have gotten insight about what is transpiring in that coalition. So it becomes very clear that Obi have to be careful. Because I think that best explains the reason he have not actually resigned from Labour Party. But even the Labour Party itself is not yet Uhuru, is not yet classified as a fertile ground for him. So his handlers, particularly his legal team, must be very, very careful, because Abure himself have made it clear, just like I said, that the ticket is not open to anyone, that it is up for grab. And seeing a Wike already hobnobbing with the man Abure, I think it speaks volume, or it lays credence to the statement that came from Abure himself. So at this point, Obi may be on his way out of Labour Party and equally on his way out of the coalition. But the point here is, whichever way Obi decide to go, I understand that they have the support of the people, particularly the Obidient movement, that doesn't look at party, they look at the man Obi as their focal point. They did the magic in the 2023 presidential election, even after all the stakeholders, all pundits, political pundits in Nigeria touted that Obi have no structure, that he could not make impacts. We saw the overwhelming impacts, how he leveraged on his personality, leveraged on his past achievement, leverage on the goodwill he has to sweep all the eastern part of the country, Delta State in South-South, Edo in South-South, even Lagos in South-West, Abuja in North-Central. The winning was overwhelming, in spite of all the rigging, voter suppression, and all of that. The result declared by INEC will be equal. It will still score 6.something million votes. It's going to show that the man Obi is a man to watch out for. Because the way it stands, Obi is the only living politician in Nigeria currently who have a cult-like followership, just like Abure had. You have a followership that follow you, vote for you, irrespective of the platform you find yourself. I think that is what someone like Muhammad Buhari enjoyed in his time, while he was getting 12 million votes in the north. So the way it is, I think if it is possible for INEC to register Obidient movement as a party, that would have been a good thing. But unfortunately, INEC is for dragon. Even the registering of the Ada party that was moved at the point by the coalition, they are not willing to do so. So we think the way it is, the man P2B have to look beyond the coalition. He equally have to look beyond Labour Party, because we may find a situation at the nick of time that even the ruling party at the national will even sponsor a candidate or rather an aspirant in Labour Party. And at the end of the day, he will be given the resources to go and fight Obi and perhaps collect the ticket. So it goes to imply that if an Atiku get the ticket of the coalition, talking about the ADC, and maybe the government of the day, talking about federal government, sponsor someone and the person grab the ticket of Labour Party, it means Obi will be left with no option. That is when you start hearing the coalition start prevailing on Obi himself to start to accept to be the running mate to Atiku. But let me say that the Atiku's handlers and Atiku himself should realize that the South have 8 years in Aso Rock. And they are even yet to complete their first 4 years. That even the current president, Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu, have additional 2 years or so. And that the South turn will end in 2031. So it is irrespective of the grievance of the North. Because I understand, if you look at the gathering, the coalition, the alliance, the likes of Malame, the likes of Babachi Lawa, the likes of Sule Lamido, the likes of the former governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, I'm not saying they have right to assembly, because the constitution gives you the right of assembly with anyone. Even the right to contest. Nobody is arguing that. The article himself, what we are saying is without prejudice to his right to contest, because he's eligible, he's eminently qualified to contest. But we are looking at that tacit agreement, that original agreement, that understanding that says if the South rule for or rather govern for 8 years, it go to the North for 8 years. The reason we saw an Obasanjo after his 8 years, the power went to the North and Yar'Adua had it. The same reason after Jonathan, he went to the North, we saw Buhari in the saddle. Of course, the same reason Tinubu is now in the saddle. So it's very clear that it is irrespective of opinion of anybody, no matter how highly placed, the South must complete their tenure. And I keep saying it. If they not say they are tired of the man, Tinubu, who is currently in Aso Rock, perhaps because of economic hardship and his policies. Yes, those things that they are not arguing it. But I keep telling you that we have an alternative in the person of P2B, who have been adjudged to be the most prudent when it comes to managing of government resources. Who have been adjudged as a man who have bring simplicity to governance. Who have been adjudged as someone who have a history of cutting costs of governance. Of course, you can accuse Obi of everything. But up to today, nobody have been able to come up with any empirical finding, evidence to indict him of corruption. So I'm not saying it's a sense, but the point here is, judging by all the persons, all the possible aspirants, all the will-be president, come 2027, I think Obi stand out. Even his arch enemies do not have anything against him. They only criticize him just for the purpose of criticism, even unprovoked. We even saw in the past where Reno Mokri will even praise him to high heaven, call him, telling him, or rather saying that he had brought civility to Nigerian politics. But it's quite unfortunate that he have decided to make Obi his enemy, and he attacked Obi at every given opportunity, even unprovoked. But if Obi himself did not even retaliate. So the point here is, just like I said, if the North feel they are tired of the man, Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu, because of his policies, approach to governance, hardship occasioned by his policies, we have another man who have consistently maintained, even before the 2023 presidential election, that Nigeria must move away from consumption to production. And I must be very honest that that is the way to go. It's the best trajectory. Because if you go into production, what is the setting? in the area of inability of Nigeria currently to meet with their FS obligation, their dollar obligation, that is making price of goods and services to skyrocket in the country. You will now have enough goods to be exported to earn foreign exchange, sufficiently enough to meet your dollar obligation. As we speak, even before the 2023 presidential election, all the major parties and their political and their candidates, talking about the man who is in Asura currently, Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu, who was then candidate of All Progressive Congress, APC, Atiku himself, who was the candidate of PDP, and even Obi, who was the candidate of Labour Party. They all agreed that they were going to remove subsidy on gasoline. They all agreed that they were going to unify FS at the official window. But one thing is certain. What do you do thereafter? The post-subsidy removal, the post-unification of FS at the official window. I think those are things that are paramount. And of course, Obi have maintained that his intention is to diversify the economy, leveraging on our vast land, leveraging on all the arable lands available, unutilized in the country. He keep harping on it, and unfortunately, even the government of the day, even as they hear him say it every day, they are not even trying to go in that direction. Perhaps because it is not their brainchild, it is not their ideology, it is not an initiative that is coming from them. So that is why we must allow somebody that has that ideology to bring it to reality. Because whether we like it or not, Nigerian economy was better off when we were measuring on agriculture. When agriculture was the mainstay of Nigerian economy, of course, we had a better economy than the best world of today. Even the UK, the US, our currency, the Naira, was better than their own currency. But the moment we discovered oil and the government was reluctant, became lazy, of course, they destroyed agriculture. I remember we used to have the era of granite pyramid in the north. We used to have the era of cocoa in the southwestern part of the country. We used to have the era of palm oil from the southeastern part of the country. And every region were doing good, were doing well, leveraging on agriculture. But currently, we have an oil that is the mainstay of Nigerian economy. We're already operating on a mono economy. And all we used to get from agriculture have been abandoned because money from the cruise sector is an easy money. The government virtually do not invest, particularly the Nigerian government, do not invest in the process of oil exploration. What they mainly do is they break communities, countries, states, as the case may be, into oil blocks, invite companies to bid, and of course, they will give an oil block to Nigerians who are privileged to be at the corridor of power at will. And when the oil companies will come in to start looking for oil, the federal government will be idle. Yes, they'll stand aloof. As at the time they discover oil, they start breaking their platform. The federal government still stand aloof. But the moment they start drilling, NNPC steps in to collect 60%, which is the federal government share of from every oil company. And this they collect across board. But at the end of the day, the citizens are not better off for it. We have been selling crude for many years. And the federal system that takes the money to Abuja being shared and all of that is making everywhere lazy. Even the north that do not even have oil is the greatest beneficiary of the oil. We shall do that is a lesson, that is a conversation for another day. How the north leverage on the crude domicile in the south at the expense of the south. Because personally, I served in Jigawa State during the youth service corps, and in the Jigawa State, if you are posted to local government secretariat, they say Baiki, when there's no work. You stay in your houses, at the end of the month, you surface, you collect your allowance. The same is applicable to all the local government staff. Nobody come to the secretariat until after the month. That is a conversation for another day anyway. But the point here is we must get it right by electing people who know what to do in governance. Thank you very much.